ESPN. Tonight, Detroit and Chicago, two teams with very similar problems. The Blackhawks have lost 5 in a row. Detroit has dropped 4 straight. And let's take a look at least part of the problem right here. Goals against. The LA Kings, they lead the NHL in goals against, having surrendered 152. Detroit is tied for second. They've surrendered 144. And you can see the Chicago Blackhawks have given up 135 goals. Brad Park, former NHL All-Star, alongside former Detroit Red Wings, so he knows the team very well. And the Detroit owner, Mike Ilitch, has spent millions of dollars, Brad, last summer on free agents and had some problems. It really hasn't helped.
Well, Mike Ilitch has brought a new meaning to the term aggressive ownership. He's gone out and spent money on free agents. The Detroit Red Wings are trying to wait until the draft picks start to develop. But in the meantime, they're doing a lot of patchwork. And when you're dealing with free agents, you're going to deal with a lot of dollars.
Speaking of dollars, you got a lot from Detroit, free agency. Is that the way to go, or is it through the draft?
Well, I think if you've got high draft picks, you're going to get some good players. If you're finishing 7th or 8th, you're going to pick 7th or 8th. You're going to be guessing a little bit about what you're going to get. So in the meantime, 2 years ago, the Wings went with older players as free agents. This year, they're going with college kids, and 2 of them haven't made it right now.
All right, let's swing over to Mike Lang, our play-by-play man who knows the Chicago Blackhawks. And I guess you feel that there are some very similar problems.
Well, I think there definitely is. With the Chicago Blackhawks, they've given up a ton of goals during this part of the season. And one of the reasons many people feel is the goaltending of Murray Bannerman and Bob Sylvain. But if you look at the record, you don't give up that many goals as a goaltender. It's a breakdown totally as far as the team is concerned, both from the defensemen and the forwards who are not doing their job checking, too. So you can't totally blame it on the goaltending of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Mike, how do you turn the situation around for Chicago and for Detroit?
Well, one of the keys to the coaching success of Bob Pulford of the Hawks has been tight checking, close games. He'd rather be in a 1-0 or a 2-1 game than anything else in the whole world. And I think they've got to go back to that system that Pulford has been famous for over the years.
All right, we'll find out in a little while. Let's get set for the face-off. The Blackhawks and the Wings of Detroit, both teams looking for a victory. The last time they met, Chicago won 6-2. The NHL on ESPN tonight, brought to you by Nikon. We take the world's greatest pictures.
Thank you very much, Tom. And the Penguins battling the Rangers tonight. They are tied at 1-1 through the first period. The score we had. Here's a look at the goaltenders for tonight's game.
On your left, you see Greg Stephan, who got the Red Wings off to a good start when he came back from suspension, and Murray Bannerman on the other side. A lot of people putting a little pressure on Murray Bannerman, think he should be playing a little bit better in goal, and both these fellows would like to get their teams off to a good start tonight.
Bannerman, 28 years of age, and Greg Stephan is 24. And the referee, Ron Wicks, will drop the puck. And away we go here in Chicago Stadium. Looks like a jam-packed house here tonight. The Hawks have lost 5 straight, Detroit 4 in a row. And yet it's full. And right from the face-off, tempers heat up. Jerome Dupont, number 25 for the Hawks, involved. Well, we kind of expected, Brad, you and I talked about it before the start of the game. They're both on losing streaks, and they're a little ornery maybe tonight.
Oh, definitely. The Blackhawks are a club that Bob Pulford thinks they should be playing with a little bit more intensity and dedication. Last year in the playoffs with the Red Wings, they beat the Red Wings 3 straight, physically punished the Red Wings. I was part of that group, and what they're doing right now is coming out and setting some game rules. Watch Keith Brown come in here with a little cross-check on the back, taking 2 guys down. That's going to get a lot of people upset, Mike.
Well, Jerome Dupont of the Chicago Blackhawks and Claude Lasselle of the Detroit Red Wings apparently will both sit down here. There's number 25. You can see his helmet there, Jerome Dupont. Just 12 seconds into the game.
I think we're going to see a lot of little physical intimidation things going through the first period. There's a look at the Detroit bench. Harry Neal on the right, just giving a little bit of shouting at referee Ron Wicks. And Harry Neal signed this year with Detroit, signed a 2-year deal, came over from the Vancouver Canucks. He's been around doing a lot of coaching in junior college, WHA, and the NHL. One of the more personable coaches in the National Hockey League, and right now he's a little worried with his team's record. He's going to make sure the officials are going to stay on their toes.
They both pick up minor penalties for roughing, so that will not affect the play on the ice. Now for Detroit, Ron Duguay at center with Peter Klima, their high scorer on this club, number 85 on the left wing, and Danny Gare on the right side. Klima, a rookie out of Czechoslovakia. Dennis Savard with Al Secord. And Wayne Presley just called up from Nova Scotia, the American Hockey League, on the right wing. Savard carries it in. One of the best skaters in the NHL. Greg Smith with the right wing. Put him to the boards. Now the whistle sounds. And we've got a pane of glass that's broken. And we've had a couple of hits already in the early going, one resulting in penalties to Dupont and Lasselle, and now a pane of glass is racked out. And here from Chicago, the score. Chicago nothing, Detroit nothing.
A look at Bob Pulfer, the coach of the Blackhawks, definitely concerned over his club's record as of late. He took over the reins last year from Orwell Tessier, got a lot of response out of his club, but so far this year, things haven't been going the way a coach and general manager, and he's both of them, would like them to go.
Came here in 1977. Boy, what a quiet couple of guys. Harry Neal of the Red Wings and Bob Pulford prior to tonight's game, Brad. They weren't saying much.
No, they're, you know, it's kind of, the team reflects the coach, and the coach, you know, they're trying everything to get their players going. And right now, both teams are playing without that confidence that it takes to can win consistently.
Savard against Duque. The glass is fixed. We're back to play. And Savard with the puck. Shoots one, and Barrett deflected it off his stick. The Detroit defenseman number 3, Greg Smith. But not clear. Bob Murray keeps it in for the Hawks. He'll skate in behind that Detroit goal. Presley follows on, number 17. And they'll freeze it. Another face-off coming up in Detroit territory.
There's a look at the referee tonight, Ron Wicks, and last night he broke the record of Bruce Hood, and he refereed or officiated his 1,034th game. Tonight's the 1,035th. And he made a point of saying he'd like to say hello to the fellow that got him started. Signed him, former referee-in-chief, Carl Voss, who lives down in Florida. So, Carl, Ron Wicks says hello, and he'd like to tell you that thanks for making his life so miserable sometimes.
I hope he's not blaming Carl for the gray hairs. Troy Murray out now for Chicago at center ice. With Yaremchuk on the right wing, Eddie Olczyk on the left side. Detroit will counter also. This is Reed Larson flipping the puck. Bannerman has it. He'll play it off the glass. Chris Jahaki, number 15 for the Detroit Red Wings. Yzerman is center iceman. And Ogrodnik on the left wing. Jahaki. In around that net, trying to clear. Are the Hawks? They can't get it out. Jahaki beats it back to the right of the goal. And O'Callaghan defensively for Chicago. Falls on top of the puck. And this time the face-off to the right of Murray Bannerman.
There's a look at Ed Olczyk, a native of Chicago here. He's one of the guys that Bob Pulfer did some maneuvering and able to draft him last year. And he started off real well playing. Now he's kind of playing on a checking line with Troy Murray, but he's been an offensive threat earlier in the year. The people here really like him. Like to see a native boy come back and do well.
Just 19 years old. Had 50 points in his rookie season last year. Tom Lysiak for Chicago. Up to Steve Larmer. Larmer trying to beat defenseman Reed Larson. Got a step on him. Larmer now taken out of the play by Jahaki, who back checked well. Ogrodnik of Detroit for Yzerman. And up the center, a penalty will be called here against the Chicago Blackhawks. And Chicago will be shorthanded. Well, Detroit will get the power play for the first time in the game as Bob Murray takes a seat.
Bob Murray pulling a little trip on Steve Yzerman. Watch Yzerman go to his right. Murray gets his stick between his legs. I think Stevie helped that one along a little bit, but it's a good penalty. Not a good penalty for the Blackhawks, good for the Red Wings. And one of the problems that the Red Wings have been having this year has been their power play and their penalty killing. They are both last in the National Hockey League.
So Murray, the tripping call, and it'll be Yzerman out with Warren Young on the left wing. There's the percentage on the power plays. Chicago's penalty killing. Yzerman with Ogrodnik and Young on the front line. Mike McEwen and Reed Larson to handle it in the backside of the point men. In a scoreless game, first period. Bill Gardner of the Hawks, along with Rick Patterson, to kill the penalty. And play is whistled down. Ron Wicks making the call here on a high stick. Well, we've had a lot of stoppages of play in the early going.
That's kind of been a little tentative, Mike. Both teams are feel this game is really important. Not only is it an interdivision rivalry and a 4-point game for both clubs, but with the records they go, nobody wants to get down early and have to play come from behind hockey all night long.
Gardner from the faceoff put it on Greg Steffen, the Detroit headbinder. He had to stop that, and Reed Larson sets up shop behind his own net. This is Yzerman. And he couldn't get by. The defensive check. Here's McEwen. Going left side. Ogrodnik is in. A backhander. Now comes in front of Bannerman, and in it goes. And Yzerman, I think, will get the goal. And Detroit leads 1-0. Power play goal for the Red Wings and kind of a freak play.
Well, Steve Yzerman, not having much choices behind the net, banks it off the right skate of Murray Bannerman. There's the pass. There it goes off the right skate of Bannerman and into the net. I'll tell you, Steve Yzerman is a sharp player. And watch O'Grodnik come in here. He goes to his backhand. John O'Grodnik goes to his backhand. Yzerman doesn't have anything to do, but he sees Bannerman there, banks it off his right skate into the net. They were really concerned about Steve Yzerman because he didn't have a point in about 8 games until last night, and he got a goal and assist in Detroit last night against the Flyers.
So Yzerman gets his 6th of the year. Grodnik will get an assist on it. And the Red Wings striking the power play. The NHL's worst power play gets a goal. Sal Secord bumping into Rick Zombo, and the puck into Craig Smith of Detroit. Lead it ahead for Foster. Tap it on the left wing. Bob Probert. Trying to give it to Foster. He will. Right side. And the Wings slipping in behind the goal. Presley cannot clear for Chicago. Detroit leads 1-0. Doug Wilson, Chicago defenseman, and the Norris Trophy winner, is the best defenseman in the league. And the Red Wings again putting pressure on Eddie Johnstone. Shoots it in behind Bannerman. He'll play it far side. And it'll be Presley. Up to Denny Savard. To Presley again. Broken up on the wings, and here's Duguay with 1 man back to beat. Bob Murray. He'll shoot one and went off the stick, get up into the crowd. The score here in the first period. Detroit 1, Chicago 0. You want to recap that goal, Brett?
Well, the goal was scored at 2:09 by Steve Yzerman with assist to John O'Grodnik and Mike McEwen.
And the Red Wings get a power play goal. That's their 22nd of the year. Mark Bergevin. Chicago defenseman slided to the wing zone. Barrett back to play the puck off the glass. Bergevin cannot hold it in. Here's Duguay, but he has 2 men to beat. Down the right wing. Long shot went wide of the net. Now around to the near corner. Danny Gare, the Wings captain, trying to get possession. And it hops back to the neutral zone. This is Reed Larson. Up ahead to Yzerman. Drop pass to Gare. Snap one on. Bannerman had trouble with that off his glove. Sweep it around. Yaremchuk gave it away to Yzerman. And the Hawks now push it up ice. Bergevin lost control to Reed Larson. Swing it to Chris Jahaki. He can't hold on to it. And again, the Hawks put it back in behind Craig Steffen. Jahaki goes to O'Grodnik. He's on his off wing. Drop pass to Larson right over the head of Bannerman. That had him ducking. And when Larson shoots the puck, a lot of people duck. Ladouceur defensively. And Ben Wilson takes command of the puck for the Chicago Blackhawks with a bit of room to work with. Into the Chicago end. Stopped by O'Grodnik. Lysiak takes over. Lysiak put it towards the net. Ladouceur breaks it up for the Red Wings. Chris Jahaki leaves it for Yzerman. He's bumped by Lysiak. McEwen sails it to the Chicago line. Larmer gives it back to Jerome Dupont. Now to Ben Wilson. Back to Larmer with a good pass. Larmer's double team. Gets away from both checks. Falls down. Pass back center ice. Now to Wilson left point. He'll shoot one. Yzerman put his body in front of that one to block it. And McEwen comes back for the Red Wings. Red Wings trying to make a change. Doug Wilson gave it right to Warren Young of Detroit. To Lane Lambert. The defense backing in, and he got the shot go, and it was blocked by Jack O'Callahan. Back it comes to Savard. O'Callahan on right wing. He is bumped, but gets it up ice. Secord with a heavy check on Rick Zombo, the young Detroit defenseman. Secord number 20 for Chicago. Savard in battling. Lassell takes the puck. And out it comes to Lane Lambert. Pretty good action so far, Brad.
It's going end to end. Detroit doing a very good job of keeping things under control. But Al Secord has come out and started to liven up the Chicago club.
Craig Smith got it up through the center of the ice. Doug Wilson will come back and play the puck over to Jack O'Callahan. And he gave it right to Rick Zombo. Zombo to Young. Warren Young, who has 9 goes on the year, signed as a free agent. The this past summer from the Pittsburgh Penguins. O'Callahan right back in behind for Doug Wilson. Detroit leading 1-0 on a power play goal by Steve Yzerman. We have 13:25 to go in period number 1. Yaremchuk collides with Rick Zombo. Around the right point, kept in by Bob Murray. His shot was deflected. Now Troy Murray of Chicago's after it. Robert can't get there, but LaSalle will. He swings in. Fired a shot that was off a stick. Grabbed now by the Blackhawks in the counterattack. Olczyk on the left wing. His drop pass hit a skate. Fortunately, Bob Murray was there to cover up at center ice.
Mike, the Blackhawks are coming out as strong as they can in this period. We're seeing Dennis Savard throw his weight around, and he doesn't have a whole bunch of weight to throw around. Even Ken Yaremchuk, people who don't usually do a lot of hitting for the Blackhawks, are stepping into people out here.
Well, I'm sure they've had the riot act read to them by Bobby Pulford. They've had 12 goals scored against them this week by the Edmonton Oilers and 6 last night against Montreal. Ben Wilson winding around the boards. Comes right point. Larson keeps it alive. Wilson trying to move it out, and good checking by Dwight Foster to tie up the play in the Chicago win. The score here in Chicago, Detroit 1 and the Hawks nothing.
Let's mention it.
Dennis Savard out for the Hawks, and his left winger Al Secord, his right winger Wayne Presley.
Mike, how'd you like to be Wayne Presley? Get called up in your first game. You're going to be playing with Dennis Savard and Al Secord, and Savard's going.
Here's Savard behind Ladouceur, coming for the net. He's stopped by Steffen, but there'll be a penalty coming up. Clear by the wings. Will there be a penalty shot? Yes, there will. A penalty shot called here by referee Ron Wicks.
Ron Wicks going to the penalty box to let the officials know that it's going to be a penalty shot. Danny Garrett's debating the question with Ron Wicks.
Ladouceur was the man that was hooking him from behind.
One of the things the players say if the officials always say they never call a penalty shot if the player gets a good shot off. Evidently, Ron Wicks feels that Dennis Savard did not get a good shot off because he was being hooked. So Dennis Savard is going to center ice. Here's Savard breaking away up the middle. Ladouceur hooking him. He gets a good hook on the hip, pulls it down, and all Savard can do is try and chip it.
The last penalty shot attempt by the Blackhawks was in March of this year against Minnesota. Guess who had the attempt? Yep, Dennis Savard.
Probably.
And he did not get it against Rolly Melanson.
He might be due then.
All right, he'll come to center, take the puck. He'll have one shot against Greg Steffen. He scores! We're tied at 1.
Here's a look at the penalty shot, Mike. Watch him go right through Steffen's legs. That's threading the needle right there. That's the talent of Dennis Savard. He's got his head up. He's looking. Steffen starts to back in. The legs come apart about 8 inches, and the puck's only a little over 3 inches, and it went right through.
Well, Savard cashes in this time. That is the 4th penalty shot that Savard has taken in his NHL career. He has made 2 and missed 2. And he made no mistake about that one.
17th of the season, scored by number 18, Dennis Savard, at 7:57. Blackhawk goal.
7:57, the time of the goal. Unassisted. Here's Yaremchuk. Cutting back. He's trying to get a step on Smith, and he couldn't get in tight enough. Smith took him out of the play. Back to the left point. DuPont of Chicago shoots it and goes. The Hawks have taken the lead, 2-1. A blistering shot from the left point by Jerome DuPont.
Jerome DuPont winding up at the point seemed to fool Greg Steffen. He may have been screened. Here's the shot. People passing in front. It goes over Steffen's right leg. Here's a look at it from behind Greg Steffen. He can't see that puck at all. Watch his right leg. There's a man in the crease, but I'm sure the referees say that Rick Zombo took Olczyk into the crease, and he didn't interfere with the goaltender, so they're going to count it.
DuPont, 2nd of the year. And Chicago striking for a pair of goals 20 seconds apart. They now lead 2-1 here at home. Yzerman plays it back into Chicago territory. Bannerman moves out of the net. Ogrodnik, number 25 for the Red Wings, can't get to it. And here come the Hawks again. Olczyk Giving the puck to Ben Wilson. He cuts around Reed Larson. He goes in deep. Shoot it towards the goal and hit the skate of his own man, Olczyk. Barrett tries to clear. He can't do it. Olczyk. Dump it off right side. Wilson shooting. And it hit the body of Steffen, and Steffen's hurt. Greg Steffen will get himself back up. Olczyk and Barrett go to one another. All right, the score here in Chicago. Chicago 2 and Detroit 1.
Here's a replay of that last extra on Greg Steffen. The shot coming at Steffen goes wide and then hits the side. Now watch Olczyk carry through and carry over on Steffen's right shoulder. Then we got a little bit of mix-up in there. Somebody went over to straight down Olczyk, or they called a penalty.
Olczyk gets the interference call.
2 minutes for interference.
At 8:17, Blackhawk goal scored by Dumont, assisted by Yaremchuk and Troy Murray.
Well, the goal by Dupont, Troy Murray and Kenny Yaremchuk had assist on it. Olczyk now will sit out, and Detroit gets a second power play opportunity. Trailing in the game 2-1. Well, a lot of goals have been given up by these two clubs, and why should anything change, I guess? We've got a 2-1 game, not even halfway through the first period.
Well, they're pretty anxious out there tonight, Mike. You know, the Red Wings power play got a goal early. That could give them a lot of confidence. The one thing if Chicago's going to have to watch for is they don't want Reed Larson shooting the puck from the point. He could shoot that thing, you don't see it till it hits something.
This is Warren Young. He'll dump it to the Chicago end, and Larmer will blast it away for Chicago. Detroit scoring on its first power play chance, the goal by Steve Yzerman. Mike McEwen signed as a free agent by the Wings, and he will rifle it in. Bannerman had trouble with that one. Young went after it, but beaten to the play by Troy Murray of Chicago. McEwen keeps it in to Larson. Snap one, and Bannerman made the stick save. Right side Larson. He's got that big shot. Here it comes. The save of Bader. Rebound. O'Gardner stopped by Bannerman. And they jam it up. Whistle sound. Stoppage in play.
What a save by Murray Bannerman on the rebound that John O'Gardner picked up on the Reed Larson shot. And the fans here in Chicago are showing a lot of appreciation. They weren't showing that appreciation when they mentioned Bannerman as a starter. But here's the Larson shot. Bannerman makes the save and goes to the right. Now watch him kick both pads over for the rebound, and he gets it with the left leg. I'll tell you what a heads-up save that was by Bannerman. Real quick reflexes, regaining and shutting down what O'Gradnik thought he had open.
Two really great ones. O'Gradnik's even better, but when Larson gets that puck, and you mentioned it, Brad, he can fire with the best of them in the National League, and he can pick your pocket. And that time, Bannerman was able to kick it away.
When I played against Reed Larson and we used to kill penalties, he'd always say, I don't care who shoots, but I don't want him shooting.
Your ankles don't want him shooting. 1:06 left in the penalty. To Olczyk. Larson put it in the slot. Young is there now. A pass to Yzerman. And O'Gradnik missed the goal, and he shakes his head. He can't believe he missed the net. Yzerman. And it's cleared by Chicago. Bill Gardner with a good effort there.
Right, John O'Gradnik is one of those guys that has a unique stick. If you went and looked at his stick, you wouldn't figure out how he could use it. He's really got his stick laid back and open. It's very hard for him to control the puck on the backhand. And that last opportunity, it was on the backhand, and he kind of went off the end of his stick off the curve.
32 seconds to go in the penalty. To Ed Olczyk of Chicago. And Chicago leading 2-1. The Red Wings. With Yzerman in control. He'll come into the Chicago end. To Larson. Man wide open, McEwen. Here he comes. Slap shot. The save is made. The rebound cleared by Chicago. Penalty coming up against the Detroit Red Wings. Well, now the Wings are going to be shorthanded. 9:09 to go in the period. Chicago 2 and Detroit 1.
A quick look at the penalty to Warren Young, putting a hook on Bill Gardner. John O'Gradnik falling over Gardner's legs, and Warren Young picks up 2 minutes for hooking at 9:09.
They'll be at equal strength for 7 seconds. And Olczyk will come on. The Chicago Blackhawks will get a power play. Doug Wilson looks up at the clock. He wants Olczyk to get on. He's going to skate right to the bench. And they'll get a fresh player on. It'll be Steve Larmer. Larmer unable to get to the puck, and Barrett clears off the linesman. Back into Chicago territory. Chicago by 1, and Doug Wilson moves it up. Boy, he can fire the biscuit too. Savard. Great shooters out here for Chicago right now. Larmer to Bob Murray. Now to and Doug Wilson, center point. Larmer takes it. Back to Bob Murray. Savard will take over. He'll dance with that puck. He'll feed it over to Larmer. Shooting off the pipe. And it's cleared by Detroit. Well, Big Ben struck one there. And Larmer blasted that one off the left post.
He did that. The one guy that can do a lot of things with that puck is Dennis Savard. And nothing happened until they got the puck to him. Then he threaded the pass to Larmer. And Larmer is one of his favorite targets because he's on his offside. He's got quick hands. And he pulls the trigger very, very well.
50 seconds to go in the Warren Young penalty. Detroit shorthanded. And cleared by the Red Wings. Bannerman will leave it for Keith Brown. And dish it off to Ben Wilson. To the Detroit line. He'll come in. Whack it around behind the cage. Steffen. Looking for Lascelles, and Claude Lascelles again finds open room. And he gets the time down on the Young penalty down to just 20 seconds as he moves it up into the Chicago zone. Brown maybe with a final rush. Off the glass and the carry behind Steffen, who again moves it around. Larson. That should do it. 1 second to go. Young steps on, and Detroit has killed the penalty. Intercepted by Ladouceur. He gave it away. Here's Olczyk with a chance left wing. Shooting long, and Steffen made an acrobatic tackle save. Rebound. Isiak puts it towards the net. And he had a broken stick when he let it go. He didn't get all of that one, Brad.
No, he did, but Eddie Olczyk sure did. Break 7. Almost handcuffed him. He come up with a big save on Olczyk's shot.
Warren Young is knocked down by Jack O'Callahan. Detroit on the attack. Here to the left point to Greg Schmidt. Right to the midsection of Bannerman. And he'll make that stop. Chicago leads here 2-1. Let's go to Tom Mees and ESPN's Hockey Central.
Well, Mike, tonight at Madison Square Garden, the Pittsburgh Penguins have just taken a 2-1 lead over the New York Rangers. There goes number 66, Mario Lemieux. Last year's Rookie of the Year, a length of the ice rush. He beats John Van Beesbrook. Pittsburgh leads the Rangers 2-1.
Well, Pittsburgh losing last night to Hartford 5-4. Now with a 2-1 lead over the Rangers. They have beaten the Rangers 2 straight. Coming into action this evening.
Oh, I like that Lemieux. I love to watch him play. He's going to be such a talent in this league. You know, last night, Mike, the Red Wings played a very, very good hockey game against the Philadelphia Flyers. They had them down 4-2 going into the third period. Philadelphia tied it up on a couple of questionable goals going in off defenseman skates. Mark LaForest, a rookie goaltender who had beat the Flyers the week before, played very well. And then late in the game, a perfect pass by Mark Cow to Dave Poulin. And the Red Wings end up with another loss. But they played a very good game last night.
Doug Wilson laying ahead of Wayne Presley. Out of Savard, left wing, Seacourt's open. He shoots it, and he just missed on the far side. Seacourt had a great chance there. Back in behind the Detroit goal. And Gare can't find the puck now. Finally controlled by defenseman Rick Zombo. Doug Wilson. And Detroit's having trouble getting the puck out of its own end now. Right side. O'Callahan shoots one towards the net. Deflected, and this is Dennis Savard. He'll leave it for Presley. Center it for Seacourt. That's off a leg. Seacourt back behind the net. Watch out here. Savard comes out. He'll turn. Watch him skate. Put it in front. And Steffen covers up on it and holds it there. All right, let's go to Jim Kelly right now.
Mike, ESPN Super Season of Live College Basketball tips off Tuesday evening, December 17th, when #1 North Carolina plays Jacksonville. The #1 team comes to your #1 source for live college basketball. Over 100 games this season here on ESPN. Brad, the Detroit Red Wings, they have scored the fewest goals in the National Hockey League. They come into Chicago Stadium, they get a quick goal, they lead 1-0. Then they surrendered 2 quick goals. How important is confidence when you're playing as the Wings have been playing lately?
Well, if you're not playing with confidence, what you're doing is you're always guessing. You're not moving naturally out there, and at this level, you've got to move with the flow. You've got to move into the holes. So when you're out there guessing and you're not sure about where you're supposed to go and you've got to think twice about it, your things are going to be a little bit slower. And right now, the Blackhawks have been putting a lot of pressure on the Red Wings.
Eddie Johnstone on for the Red Wings, just called up in the American Hockey League. Former New York Ranger, and of course played with Detroit before spending last year with Nova Scotia. Bannerman will hold his ground and cover that puck to the right of the net. Well, the Hawks scoring a pair of goals 20 seconds apart. Detroit had the early lead, but a penalty shot by Dennis Savard and then one by Jerome Dupont. There's Murray Bannerman.
Murray Bannerman is one of the guys, the goaltenders have been taking a little bit of heat here. They thought he was off to a slow start. The Hawks went out and acquired Bob Sauve, an experienced goaltender who played very well last night in Montreal. But Bannerman has played very well. Other than the shot that Yzerman banked off his right pad, he's been standing there real well tonight.
Bannerman just bought a new home here in the Chicago area, one that will accommodate his horses that he has. I guess he's really into horses, and back it goes into Detroit territory. Johnstone finds Dwight Foster. And now Bill Gardner, wearing number 14 for the Hawks, with Jeff Larmer on the left wing, number 10, Rick Patterson on the right side. Reed Larson gave it away to Bergerman, but put right back into the Chicago end in an offside call. Quite a player out there in Dwight Foster. We talked about that before the game, you and I, Brad. He's kind of a journeyman player who just continually does the job year in and year out, no matter what team he's been with. But he's going to go off the ice now. But he's been a pretty good center iceman during the years. He
has. He's delegated the role of penalty killer and checking. He's one of the people that I'm sure Harry Neal was referring to in the Wings locker room as a leader. He's not the best player in the club, but he makes his presence felt in that dressing room. And he's deceptively strong. He's not a big guy. He only weighed about 175 pounds, but he's closer to about 190, 195.
Just under 5 minutes to go in the first period. And Chicago leads 2-1. This is Yzerman to the left wing to Ogrodnik. And Detroit can't make it happen. Olczyk counters and goes the other way. Off wing. Cuts inside. Nice move by Olczyk. And he's bumped off the puck finally. And Randy Ladouceur, Detroit defenseman, to Hockey. Dupont got the angle on him, forced him into the corner, and put a stiff shoulder check into him. And the whistle sounds, so we're going to have a penalty coming up here. Penalty coming up. The score here in Chicago, the Hawks 2, the Red Wings 1.
A look at the penalty to Jerome Dupont, who lost his stick going in on Chahaki, and he gets him up. Ron Wicks decides that that's boarding. It looked like a pretty good check, but Ron Wicks, those officials always see it different than the players do. I had a few arguments with him over the years. He was always a lot of fun to argue.
Ron Duguay on Detroit's third power play chance here. They're 1 for 2. Larson trying to keep it in. He will. Right side to Gare. He'll shoot one deflected in by Duguay, and the Red Wings have scored to tie the game at 2. Ronnie Duguay knocked it home. Well, Detroit with 2 power play goals. Who would have believed it?
Well, they've been due. They got, they got a power play goal last night and started to pick them up a little bit. Danny Gare just wheels with this, and concentrate on Dugay's hands, because it hits him on the left hand or the stick and goes by Bannerman. Nothing that Murray Bannerman could do about it. Here's the shot by Gare. Now watch Dugay up there. He gets right on his stick or his right glove and deflects into the net. And that's a big goal for the Red Wings right now, because the way these confidence on these teams, they're rising and falling. If Chicago was to go out and get the next goal, we could turn into a real scoring thing in here.
Well, the Dupont penalty important. And the Hawks now fire it back to the cage, and Steffen stops that. Tied at 2, first period. LaSalle leaves it for Warren Young. Steve Larmer knocked his pass into the Detroit left wing corner. Lysiak moved it back to Steve Larmer at the blue line, and he couldn't get into the slot, and Detroit simply cleared to the neutral zone. Backpedaling to Doug Wilson. Pass off the board for Lysiak. Got a man cutting for the net. Brown's there, and shot. Steffen with a big save on Keith Brown. And you can see that one develop up here, Brad, as Brown was open on that right side, and Lysiak put it right on the stick.
Lysiak passed the puck a little bit before Greg Smith thought he would, and Brown walked in, but Steffen was very alert and sliding over and shutting everything down.
And the call here against Chicago, an icing call, will bring it back into Chicago territory. Dugay's goal came just 6 seconds after Dupont had gone off for boarding. So a quick conversion by the Red Wings, and Dugay, his 9th of the campaign. There's Greg Steffen, the Detroit netminder.
Look at Greg Steffen. He's one of the guys that the Wings really missed early in the year. He was serving suspension. Here's the pass to Brown. Now watch Steffen slide and shut down everything. Brown knew he had to unload it, and Steffen was counting on him, and he went over and smothered a nice save. He's probably the guy that the Wings have been looking for. He took over the #1 goaltending job the last couple of years. He's got the good basics in goaltending, that if he does have an off night because of those basics, he's not going to have a disastrous night.
We are tied at 2 here with less than 3 minutes to go in the first period. And the Blackhawks step up into Chicago ice. Secor stripped of the puck by Peter Klima. We haven't seen too much of him here in the first period, Brad. Klima, very quick skater. Drop pass comes to Duguay. Penalty coming up here. And it will be against Chicago again. Behind the net, Klima trying to center. And another penalty against the Chicago Blackhawks. A slashing call this time.
A slashing call on Wayne Presley for slashing Peter Klima, who's going down the wing. And right now, let's go to Jim Kelly and find out what's going on.
Okay, Brad and Mike, thank you very much. Coming up in our first intermission, we'll have a chat with number 24 of the Chicago Blackhawks, their all-star defenseman Doug Wilson. He's been selected 4 straight all-star teams. Also coming up, we'll have scores and highlights around the NHL tonight with Tom Mees and the announcement of this week's Chrysler Dodge NHL Player of the Week. Also, we'll check in at ESPN Sports Center. Scores and highlights around the National Football League today. Lots of playoff possibilities and highlights that big Cowboys win against the Giants.
Well, Detroit now will get another power play chance with Presley going to the box. Go ahead.
There's Klima going down, but the slash happened up a little bit farther because Wicks already had his hand in the air. Duguay coming in, shooting it along the ice. And the Red Wings get another power play chance. This is something that the Blackhawks continue to take penalties and let the Wings have those power play chances. They're going to lose any attack momentum that they've had earlier in the game.
Well, sooner or later, you'll start cashing in on the power play, and the Wings have done just that in the first period. Reed Larson going to McEwen. Rink wide to Gare. Pass was too hard and cleared outside the zone by Jerome Dupont. Ken Yaremchuk of the Blackhawks went to the Chicago dressing room. I didn't see if he was hurt or not. It looked as though it might be some equipment problem. Here's McEwen, though, into Chicago territory to Duguay. And he couldn't get it to Reed Larson. Larmer will find Troy Murray. And Detroit has an easy time taking the puck away from him. Here's Duguay, right wing. To Reed Larson. Goes to that center point. Now goes all the way to stop. Now back to Duguay. Shoots one. Bannerman with a glove save. Detroit's power play is working pretty well tonight. Ben Wilson hit by Danny Gare. We are tied at 2. The Red Wings trying to break the deadlock with a minute to go in the penalty to Presley. Klima, backdoor pass to McEwen. Back to Klima. McEwen takes it one more time. Wilson forced him in the corner. McEwen shoots and he hit the post. Now Larson right side. He fires and that stops. Rebound. Gare can't beat Bannerman. Bannerman reaches out and holds on. Oh, Detroit buzzing like bees around a hive in the Chicago zone, but they can't beat Murray Bannerman.
Getting some good chances out there. Watch the action in front here. You're going to have a look at Jerome Dupont with Ron Duguay and Ben Wilson giving a little bit of a stick ride to Danny Gare. One thing when you're a defenseman in front, anytime you're dealing with somebody, the #1 thing that you have to do is you have to have that player stick off the ice. You can pitchfork him, you can do anything you want, but if his stick is still on the ice, then he's got position on you. And you're going to see a lot of times you'll see a defenseman there, he'll stand next to a guy and he'll have him, but he will not control the player's stick. And that's the whole secret.
Good point, Brad, and a 2-2 tie with 41 seconds to go in the Chicago penalty. Reed Larson gave it away that time to Bob Murray. Rick Patterson of Chicago going to take it in deep. McEwen rides him off the puck, and Ogrodnik wins the rush back to Yzerman. Less than a minute to go in the period. It comes to Yzerman. Larson with a good effort to keep it in. Slap shot, deflected just wide as Young got the blade on it for Detroit. Ogrodnik in front, bouncing puck. Chicago has it, and they clear. And that'll take the heat out of a very hot kitchen Chicago has had over the last couple of minutes. This is Greg Smith. Final rush, Yzerman. Couldn't pull it between the legs of Savard. Presley's on the pass, off his skates. And an offside call against Chicago. Well, it's been a very entertaining period of hockey so far. 31 seconds left, Brad. And they've gone in to win, bumped, and been a pretty good hockey game.
It's been very good so far. Both clubs are dying to get a win. You know, they haven't won too many games lately, and they're looking at each other and say, well, this has got to be a team that we can beat. The Red Wings, Harry Neal feels that the next 2 games are pretty crucial for his hockey club. They're going on the road. They're here tonight in Chicago. They go on to Minnesota, play the North Stars divisional game. So they would like to get some points while on the road. The Blackhawks, I mean, what better place to win a game than in front of your own fans here in Chicago, or probably the noisiest in the league.
Greg Smith with 25 seconds to go. By the way, these 2 teams will meet again next Saturday night in Detroit. Presley on the right wing, number 17. He couldn't make a play, and LaSalle comes back for the Red Wings. Fires a bullet, and Bannerman had to make that save. Barrett keeps it alive. Far side, Presley clears it up ice. We might get an icing call, but time's going to run out before Smith touches it. The siren sounds. Well, first period of hockey that saw the Red Wings score 2 power play goals. Chicago scoring on a penalty shot. We had a little bit of everything in the opening 20 minutes of play, Brad.
We had some physical stuff going out there. We had some great saves by both goaltenders, and we still have 4 goals scored. But right now, here from Chicago, it's the Hawks 2 and Detroit 2. Very, very strong in the first period, but then their aggressiveness, they took 4 penalties and gave Detroit 4 opportunities to get some goals. Detroit capitalized on 2 of them. And I don't know, Chicago, that kind of hurt them. We're looking at the Wings coming up to the ice service. Dwight Foster always likes to be the last man out. Used to make me walk in front of him all the time. It's terrible.
I want to correct one thing. The penalty shot by Savard was his 5th in the National Hockey League, and he is now 2 and 3. 2 he has scored on, and 3 he has not. That's all-time leader for Chicago in the history of the franchise, the most penalty shots ever. Look at the goaltenders.
Murray Bannerman, Greg Steffen both come up with some big saves in the first period, and they just like to keep the score right where it is and pad their goals against. Detroit had 13 shots, Chicago 11, and Bob Pulford is starting the Savard line against the Duguay line, figuring their offense will be better than the Red Wings.
Savard with Secord and Presley. That's the unit out. And Bannerman working the other end of the rink right now. In goal for the Chicago Blackhawks, Ben Wilson. Goes to Jerome Dupont. He couldn't find Secord, and Detroit settles it at center ice. This is Duguay with Danny Guerra and Peter Klima as his wingers. Klima, right-handed shooter, playing on the left wing. Right wing corner, Secord goes in to play his own in. He'll go to Dupont. Left wing to Savard, and he just dumps it back to center ice. Danny Guerra whistles one into the Chicago left wing circle, and the Red Wings go to a line change. Presley put that puck the wrong way, back to his defenseman Wilson. Now he'll carry it out. Presley, a native of Detroit. Off a leg, and Peter Klima rambling back the other way for Chicago. He shoots one on Bannerman, and he'll make the save. Now Klima loves that one-on-one situation. He's like a forward in basketball. He'll come out and he'll just challenge that defenseman and go one-on-one. I think he'll have to learn to be a little more creative. He certainly has a lot of talent, but he loves to come one-on-one, Brad.
He's second amongst the rookies. He has that potential to be a great player in this game. The cloak and dagger rookie. They stuck him out of Czechoslovakia this year, or it took him a few weeks to do it. But he's been very impressive for the Red Wings. His handling of the puck, his speed. He's still taking lessons. He's living with a Czechoslovakian family in Detroit, and he's breaking it. He's starting to feel a big part of that hockey club.
Yzerman now on for the Red Wings, with Chris Chahaki on right wing and John Ogrodnik on the left side. The Hawks countering Troy Murray, Ken Yaremchuk.
Mike on.
The sticks are coming up now, and Bannerman plays it to Doug Wilson. Olczyk and Yaremchuk, the wingers for Troy Murray. We are tied at 2 early in period number 2. Yaremchuk. One man to beat, Barrett. And Yaremchuk bumped off the puck on a defensive effort by John Barrett. Good check on the far side by Troy Murray. Yaremchuk is hit by Barrett one more time, but Eddie Olczyk gives the puck to Troy Murray. He turns and fires it off a stick, and that one hops up into the crowd here at Chicago Stadium. The score here in Chicago, the Hawks 2 and the Red Wings 2. Well, Troy Murray will handle this face-off for the Chicago Blackhawks against Steve Yzerman. Yzerman just 20 years of age. He was a first-round draft choice out of Peterborough. Now in his 3rd year. Well, we bring him along in a hurry, don't we, in the National League?
Well, they have to learn in a hurry. There's Pippy-Wack limping in that training room all the time.
Grodnick goes cross-rink and back to center. That's why it's kind of amazing all the years you played in the league, Brad. To get 10 years in the NHL now is a major accomplishment. Here's Olczyk.
It's amazing how you get older, you find out how to get away from those checks.
Chicago and Detroit tied 2-2 here in the Windy City, and Olczyk bumped on the play by Barrett. Wilson went back in between the circles, and Reed Larson clears that out of danger. Yzerman to the left wing for Grodnick. That's off the leg of O'Callahan, the Chicago blue liner. Yaremchuk looking for open space, and Yzerman steals. Giving the puck to Mike McEwen. Ladouceur. This might be an icing call. And Doug Wilson will get possession. All right, 2-2 here. Let's go to Tom Mees and ESPN's Hockey Central.
Mike, the Pittsburgh Penguins believe in building through the draft. Last year, Mario Lemieux. This year, Craig Simpson. It's Mario Lemieux to Craig Simpson, the #1 draft pick this year from Michigan State. He shoots, he scores, he beats John Van Beesbrook, and the Penguins have opened a 4-2 lead over the Rangers in the 2nd period in New York. Now let's go back to Chicago Stadium. Mike Lang and Brad Park.
A look at Greg Steffan standing in there getting ready for this face-off. To his left, Claude Lazelle taking the draw. Interesting thing about Claude Lazelle, last year he got sent down. He played so well in the American League, they brought him back up. This year, the same thing. They told him to go have a good camp, sent him to Adirondack, and he played so well there, and the Wings were struggling. He's got called back up and playing regular for them.
Bob Murray of Chicago put one on. The save made by Steffan, who was partially screened on that shot. Lifted back to center. Mark Bergevin looking for Lysiak. Lysiak couldn't penetrate the Detroit zone. Bob Murray went for Bergevin, who fell down on the play, but no harm done. Lascelles bumps into Steve Larmer. Just inside the Chicago zone, Bob Murray worked it up ahead. Well, the Hawks without left winger Kurt Fraser was their leading scorer. Now with a shoulder problem, and Darryl Sutter is also out with a shoulder injury. Well, Detroit has a few injuries. We'll try and get to those when we get an opportunity. We are tied at 2, and a heavy check in the near corner on Ladouceur. Warren Young able to play it ahead to Mike McEwen. He is tripped in the play. It comes to the near side to Lane Lambert. Strip of the puck. Ladouceur shoulders Lysiak. Lambert goes back into his own end to take possession. A little better checking right now in the 2nd period.
It is. It's going both ways, and a lot of this times in the Chicago Stadium with that small center ice, you don't have as much room to move. You don't have as much room to make those good passes, and you end up with a lot of turnovers. The team that can kind of turn the puck over and counter and come back at the other team has an advantage. Philadelphia Flyers, the Edmonton Oilers are 2 of the top teams. Bob Pulford loves to pace up and down that bench. He's a little worried right now. His team's playing a good game. They're playing physical, but he'd like to get a couple of goals ahead.
Rick Zombo of Detroit laid it inside the blue line, and Chicago quickly clears. Craig Smith to Foster. Not a good pass there. And it's back in behind the net. Steffan steps out of the goal. Steering the puck off on the near side. Robert just taps it ahead back to the Chicago line. And DuPont backpedaling. We are tied at 2 here in Chicago. Mike Lang along with Brad Park here at Chicago Stadium. Off the stick of Steffan. The Karam on the rebound. Bill Gardner looks for it. He can't get there. And Jeff Larmer behind the Chicago goaltender to Bill Gardner. Centers for Ben Wilson. Look out. He shoots one, and Dwight Foster blocked that right in front, acting as a defenseman. The puck on edge as it comes back to Chicago territory.
Ben Wilson stuck in there, took a little bit of advantage of the rookie Bob Probert out there, got away from, got it deep in the slot, got a shot away, but it got blocked before it got to Steffan.
Bannerman coolly gets it to Jerome DuPont. Around the board, Savard giving chase, but Barrett will beat him to the disc. And swings to the right of his own goal. Well, the play going back and forth right now. Neither club able to get much going. the offensive end of the game. Presley giving the puck to Al Secord. 14:40 left, second period. Reed Larson's lead pass off the stick of Doug Wilson. That's a live puck, and Wilson goes back to play it. Skates down. Passing to Secord. Gave it away. Right in front is a quick shot by Klima. And that's blocked. Duguay. Right side to Larson. Shoots it. And it was deflected by Gare. Klima gets possession. And he can't find Gare in the slot. And here are the Hawks counterattacking. Headed knocked aside. O'Callahan back on a rush of the Red Wings in. Looking for O'Callahan. Put it in front. Secord there, and Steffen stops him. The rebound taken by Secord. Oh, he got a stiff check into the glass by John Barrett. Now Secord looking for Barrett. He'll pull him down, but a penalty coming up. Not a good one by Secord. Now he takes a shot at Barrett and tempers heat up. Reed Larson is in there. Secord got his head scrambled against the glass, and he came right back against John Barrett. And he'll draw the penalty, and I think the Hawks will be shorthanded unless he provoked the Red Wings into a penalty, too.
Okay, we're going to lock in here. John Barrett taking out Al Secord. Al Secord gives the old clothesline, grab him around. That's a face mask if I ever saw it. That's one fella you don't want to have get his dandruff up as Al Secord. Well, from Chicago with the Hawks, too, it's Detroit, too. Look at Al Secord in the penalty box for the Blackhawks. 2 minutes for holding. I think it was no doubt about that penalty, Mike. Another power play opportunity for the Red Wings. This time, every time Chicago gets a penalty and the Wings get a power play, it takes the momentum a little bit away from Chicago. They were forcing the issue then. And it's one of those things that you're going to see your special teams out there a lot of time, and the players on the bench do not get into the flow. Your third line, and if you're using a fourth line, very rarely sees the ice.
The Red Wings, who have scored on 2 of 4 power plays here tonight, work their way into the Chicago end. Gare wristing one, and Bannerman stops that and holds on. Let's go right now to Jim Kelly.
All right, Mike. Meanwhile, Quebec and Buffalo doing battle. Lindsey Ruff, an unbelievable game. He's got 4 goals already, and it's 6-2. Buffalo on top over the Nordiques. Barrasso between the pipes for the Sabres there. Meanwhile, Chico Resch in the nets for New Jersey. Wamsley for St. Louis. 2-1. The Devils on top. That's after 2. And a 2-1 score. Toronto leading Winnipeg. They're in the middle of the second period as well. Brad, what game is Ron Wicks watching that he didn't call another penalty besides the holding on Secord? It looked like top-ranked boxing.
Well, Ron Wicks, there was a good flow going in the game. It wasn't. Some officials are going to call things when they think it's stopping a good scoring opportunity. When the puck was behind the net, the people were banging and this and that. He probably could have called a penalty on John Barrett, but elected not to.
McEwen will carry the mail to center. Shoot it off DuPont's shin pad. Troy Murray winds it around. Man is open. It's Steve Larmer. Klima will catch him with ease. He's got great speed, and he overtakes Larmer, but he stops with a good move. Passing to Wilson. Short-handed. He can't tee it up. A good play by Larmer to stop on a dime and leave Klima skating back towards the boards. Reed Larson. Remember, Detroit has a power play on right now. Chicago is the team that's short-handed. This is Reed Larson. 50 seconds to go in the penalty. Checked by Ben Wilson.
Mike, when the players are coming up like that, Detroit players have been on there for a while, and we can always see a player start to tire on a power play or special situations because they're tired and they make the bad plays. Well,
the Wings put it into the zone. Ogrodnik was definitely offside. The call was not made. He shook his head. He thought he was offside on the play, and we did too. It was not called, and now the Red Wings are back in their own territory to set up here what is probably the final rush with 20 seconds to go, and the penalty to Secord. McEwen will spin it in. Warren Young taken out of the play by Doug Wilson. And Chicago penalty killer Rick Patterson finds Bob Murray alone. He'll kill the clock with 1 second to go, and Secord comes on. Ogrodnik looking for open space. We are tied at 2 in the second period. Greg Smith fires one on Bannerman. He'll make the glove save. Doug Wilson looks, finds an opening. And that's a live puck. Relays it to Steve Yzerman. Ogrodnik just inside the line. Standing up to right for Secord. Right wing to Wilson. Collides with Barrett, and Wilson took the worst of that. And at the blue line, an offside call. Here in Chicago, the score. The Blackhawks 2, the Red Wings 2. Well, a little different period of hockey here in period number 2. The Czechs been much better. The tempo has not been quite as fast, but it still remains a pretty good hockey game.
And we're still seeing some body contact. John Barrett just stepped into Ben Wilson out there. Now he's got Al Secord and Ben Wilson mad at him.
Right Foster with Eddie Johnstone. Probert on the left wing for the Red Wings. Bannerman hit by his own defenseman O'Callaghan, right in front and score! And Detroit takes the lead 3-2 as Eddie Johnstone cashes in. Boy, I'll tell you what happened there. Defenseman O'Callaghan ran right into his own goaltender, shook the concentration up of Bannerman, and Detroit gets the go-ahead goal.
A big goal by Eddie Johnstone, being fed a nice pass by Bob Probert, but you got to credit Dwight Foster, who went into the net, and what he did, he fooled Callahan, and here comes the puck out to Johnstone and goes into the net with Dwight Foster right there. But he fooled Callahan, and Callahan ended up running in to his own goaltender, and Bannerman never got his balance or never got back to an angle when Johnstone got the puck in front of the net.
Doug Wilson was right there, too. I thought it might have been O'Callaghan on the play. But nonetheless, the Red Wings have scored to take a 3-2 lead. Bannerman's concentration certainly was disturbed. O'Callaghan finding Keith Brown. The Red Wings led 1-0 in the game. Chicago took a 2-1 lead. Now Detroit has the lead. That's an upper deck shot off its stick into the crowd. Let's join Jim Kelly right now.
Mike, 2 top 20 teams, Indiana and Louisville, take to the court starting at 7:30 Eastern Time, coming up on Wednesday, December the 18th. And 2 of the country's best coaches, Bobby Knight and his Hoosiers, Denny Crum and his Cardinals. Louisville, of course, almost impossible to beat at home at Freedom Hall with a winning percentage of almost 85%. Be at center court for all the hoop action on Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern Time. Over 100 college basketball games right here on ESPN. Brad, when you're going as badly as the Red Wings have gone of late, how important is that go-ahead goal in Chicago Stadium?
Oh, it's much easier to play ahead in Chicago than it is to come from behind.
Brown ties the game for Chicago. Keith Brown just put it upstairs. He climbed the ladder on Greg Steffen. We're tied at 3.
A little mix-up behind the Detroit net. The puck comes out. 2 defensemen behind the net. Now watch Keith Brown just hold the puck. Greg Steffen goes down, and he just sticks it right up under the crossbar. As pretty a goal as you're going to see anybody do.
Keith Brown playing right wing. Gets the goal at 9:25. So the Hawks answer very quickly to the Johnstone goal, and we've got a tie again. That one's shot on Bannerman. The stick save. LaSalle in the near corner. And Lane Lambert and LaSalle in there, and they freeze it. The goal by Johnstone came at 8:57. Probert had the only assist on the Johnstone goal. And Keith Brown's goal for the Blackhawks was his 4th of the year. Look at Lane Lambert, who will sit down now. Recently recalled from the American Hockey League. Adirondack leading their division.
Mike, one thing we haven't seen out here, and the play's getting a little scattery. The puck's changing hands a lot. We haven't seen anybody really go and beat somebody one-on-one coming into the center ice, and then from there forcing other people to commit themselves.
Chicago back in the attack, trying to take the lead again. Presley wristing one and Steffen the save. The rebound is picked up by Rick Zombo of Detroit. Look ahead for Duguay. It'll be called back on a 2-line pass. Now we're halfway home in regulation time at the 10-minute mark. And we've got a 3-3 tie. 2 clubs very high in goals against during the course of the first third of the season. And it hasn't changed here tonight. We've had 6 goals scored already halfway through regulation time.
A look at Ron Duguay, acquired from the New York Rangers in a big trade. Came over with Ed Mayo and Eddie Johnstone. Going to New York was Willie Huber, Mark Osborne, and Blaisdell.
This is Duguay shooting the puck into Chicago territory. It'll be Doug Wilson moving the puck back to center. Greg Smith gave it right to Al Secor. And then leave it for O'Callahan. Dennis Savard, who scored on a penalty shot in period number 1 for the Chicago Blackhawks. Savard has the puck now. Zombo cut him off at the pass, and Gare trying to get out. There'll be a penalty call there. Chicago will be shorthanded again. Here in Chicago, the score: the Hawks 3 and the Red Wings 3.
A quick look of Dennis Savard taking the feed out from Danny Gare, and he's going to take a 2-minute penalty for tripping. And what we have now, we have the Blackhawks, who have taken all kinds of penalties, given the Wings 6 power plays to Chicago's 1.
Detroit was 2 for 9 yesterday against the Philadelphia Flyers on the power play. It's been a big part of their game and why they have the lead here tonight. Or did have the lead, and now it's tied at 3, of course. Warren Young worked around to the right point. Reed Larson. He lost it. Here's a chance for Larmer. Larson's giving chase. Larmer pulls up. And played it off the wood back to center. Well, Larmer just didn't have enough speed, it appeared, to get by Reed Larson. He made a good effort to get back in the play. Now an offside call. Let's go down to Jim Kelly right now.
Well, Mike, it's December the 15th, 1985, but let's go back on another December the 15th on this night in the NHL, because back in 1984, the great Gretzky, number 99, scored 5 goals. It was the 3rd time in his great career that he had a 5-goal night. It took place in St. Louis. The Oilers beat the Blues 8-2. And, of course, Rick Wamsley was between the pipes that night. He was replaced by Mike Liut. Well, Gretzky, Brad, this week, he had a career for some players, and he had it against the Chicago Blackhawks. And I think Chicago showing the effects of a good lecture by Bob Pulper.
They've come out strong. The game against Edmonton was a 12-9 game. It set all kinds of records in the National Hockey League for goals scored. And the same night, the Red Wings got beat 10-2 by the Minnesota North Stars. So it was not a good week for either club.
Detroit still in the power play, and Bill Gardner. Penalty killing goes to Rick Patterson. He has McEwen back in the play, and his shot went off McEwen's leg. Reed Larson plays it up to McEwen. He's into the Chicago end. A shot was partially deflected. On the right side, here's Larson. He tried to center for McEwen. Whacked that in the air by Chicago. The puck will be alive because Young of Detroit touched it. And the whistle sounds. We've got a face-off in Chicago territory. 26 seconds to go. We've had a lot fewer face-offs at times here in this second period. 26 seconds left on that penalty to Dennis Savard.
There's an awful lot of talking going out in that ice. Warren Young just having a little conversation with Doug Wilson. A little bit of bitterness out there right now. These two teams are trying to climb the ladder to success. Unfortunately, they've got to meet each other. So one should advance and one will stay behind.
Young's a big, rough, tough guy, too. He can use the hands when he has to. Got good size, 6'3", 200-pounder.
He was off to a very disappointing start this year, and then all of a sudden he came back. He ended up getting a hat trick. Now he's got a number of goals, and he feels a lot better about himself. But there's some funny stories about him because everybody used to kid him over relying on Mario Lemieux so much.
Here's Danny Gare giving the puck to Klima. He made a move on the defenseman, but getting back was Ben Wilson and knock it off his stick. Well, Klima trying to get fancy on that play, almost succeeded, but Wilson got the blade down and knocked it away.
There's a few players in the league that'll try something like that, and looks like Klima's going to be one of them.
Rick Zombo snaps it away. And Duguay looking for Gare behind the goal. Wilson able to direct it back to the neutral zone and blasted again by Smith in. And that one's offside. Well, the shots now are 19-15 in favor of the Red Wings. They outshot Chicago 13-11 in the opening 20 minutes. And we've got a 3-3 tie here with less than 7 minutes to go in period number 2. Greg Smith out of Colorado College. It's 10 years in the National Hockey League. Just a steady player. Has been. Started with the California Golden Seals organization.
Greg Smith came into the league. He's played with 4 teams and only been traded once.
might tell them why.
Well, the reason is he broke in with California. They moved to Cleveland. He played there. Cleveland merged with Minnesota, and then he got traded to Detroit from the North Stars.
Bob Probert of Detroit trying to check Troy Murray. Murray skates away from that check. That one missed the net. Steffen plays it off the glass. Probert finds Foster. Right wing to Eddie Johnstone, who has the goal in the second period for the Red Wings. Foster in front for Probert, and a deflection stopped by Bannerman. A good save by Bannerman there. Yaremchuk leads the rush the other way. Offside. Murray on the left wing for the Chicago Blackhawks.
What a makeshift line this Foster, Johnson, and Probert have been. They've got a goal, and they almost got another one right there. Both Johnson and Probert just being called up yesterday and being paired with Dwight Foster. I think Johnson and Foster showing a little bit of poise out there. There's Foster making the quick pass to Probert, who redirects it, and Bannerman was shutting off everything down low along the ice. And an alert play by Murray Bannerman. I think the goaltenders have had to come up with some very, very sharp saves here. They got 35 shots. Both goaltenders have come up big at times.
Now that Probert hails from Windsor, Ontario. Third-round draft choice in 1982. He's a 210-pounder, too, 20 years old. Here's an icing call coming up, apparently, against Chicago. And that is the call. We are tied at 3, the Hawks and the Red Wings here in Chicago. Harry Neal, the coach of the Red Wings, sends out Steve Yzerman, Chris Chahaki, and John O'Grodnik. Grodnik's coming kind of quiet tonight. All-star left winger. First-team All-star last year in the National Hockey League. And the play is whistled down. You know who the last left winger for the Red Wings that was an All-Star was?
Oh, that might be Mr. Lindsay way back a while ago.
And do you know who the only, that's a first-team All-Star, the last first-team All-Star for the Red Wings was?
The last first-team All-Star. Okay, Mike, I give up.
Well, he works on our ESPN telecast, Mickey Redmond, with the Red Wings.
All right.
Well, Mick, if you're listening, we're still thinking about you.
That's right, Mick. I got out of the way when you shot the puck. You never did when I did, though. One of the things that both these teams have really been suffering, their big guns have not been as dominant as they were last year. You look at Yzerman and then Duguay and O'Grodnik. You've got 3 players who are in the team who have got more points than them. The same thing with Savard and Larmer. You know, Troy Murray and Kurt Fraser have taken the slack up, and I think that both coaches, both organizations want to see a little bit more action from their big guns.
Keith Brown. Converted to a right winger now by Bob Pulford. There's a goal here in period number 2 to tie the game for Chicago, but it is Detroit now on the attack. Barrett. He shoots one long and kicked away by Bannerman. A good shot by Barrett that time. Bannerman kicked it out. And here are the Hawks moving up. Left wing, Lysiak. Got a half a step on McEwen. He centers it in front. And Steffen smothers. And Lysiak trying to get in and make that perfect play in front. He had just a little bit of a stride on McEwen. And let's go right now to Jim Kelly.
All right, Mike, it's fast and furious down here ringside. Coming up in our next intermission, an interview with the Detroit Red Wings' Danny Gare. Also scores and highlights with Tom Mees, and lots of action going around the National Hockey League tonight. Also an update on the NHL All-Star Game fan balloting, courtesy of Chrysler Dodge, and also a check-in at ESPN Sports Center, scores and highlights of the National Football League. Back upstairs, here's Mike and Brad.
Thank you, Jim. You in the goal cage or what?
I'll tell you, get a bird's eye view there. I'll bet you duck when they shoot that puck right at that goaltender.
3-3 tie. And Duguay able to come away with a puck. Looked ahead for Peter Klima. That pass behind him, and Jack O'Callahan into Detroit territory. Beat Duguay. And it's flipped up over the glass. Secord in the near corner, and Greg Smith tie each other up. Well, Secord, he just looks mean on the ice, Brad.
Al Secord broke in with the Boston Bruins. It was a funny thing because they said that he couldn't skate, but when he got to camp, he looked awful fast to me. Probably one of the toughest guys in the National Hockey League.
He certainly is.
In the summer, he was interested in taking up professional boxing until the Bruins told him, hey, no, we don't want you doing that. We're paying you to play hockey.
He's on Dennis Savard's line. The Red Wings with the puck, and Rick Zombo Moved to the white. Doug Wilson looking for Secord on the left side. Duguay's got control of the puck. And Chicago having trouble getting the puck out right now. Secord finally does, but he gives it right to Greg Smith. And the Red Wings pop it up. Secord cut around Duguay. Wrist it back into the Chicago near corner. And a penalty coming up here as Savard was hauled down. And Detroit will be shorthanded. Score, Chicago 3, Detroit 3.
Greg Smith sitting in the penalty box, picking up 2 minutes for hooking Dennis Savard. Dennis Savard trying to get in real quick, and Greg Smith put a little bit of a hook on him. It's the only second power play chance for the Hawks tonight.
They have a pretty good power play, 26.4 on the conversion rate. Keith Brown, right point. He'll slide it over to Tom Lysiak. Lysiak goes to Brown. Center point is shot. That hit the boards. Behind Greg Steffen. Tapped away. Savard's line not out here because they had just been on that shift. Lysiak will do the work. He got around Ladouceur, cutting for the goal. Goes behind the net. Passing for Wilson. The slot now picked up in front. And Detroit's able to gather it in and clear. Lysiak may have tried one too many moves that time.
He tried to thread a pass through the slot. Brown was moving in, and he got it up and knocked down by Reed Larson.
Keith Brown. Rifled in, near corner. Ladouceur takes a piece of Troy Murray. Larson played it off Ben Wilson's stick. And the Hawks have to go back to center ice and set it up again. 1:05 to go. Savard line might be coming on any minute, and here Savard is on. But the Hawks are forced to their own territory. We'll have to start the play from that end. Foster and Gare, the penalty killers for Detroit. Savard in the left wing corner goes to Secord now. To Gare, or to Savard behind the net, swings it out far board. Savard shoots wide, and the stick save by Greg Steffen. Secord with the puck, going to Keith Brown. Now to Doug Wilson. Well, they've got some heavy shooters out here. This is Wilson going to Savard. He'll look it over. They back in. Well, you don't do that too often against him. Here comes the Wilson. A shot. Save made. And the rebound is cleared behind the net. Secord. Off to Savard. Wilson can't make a play. And Detroit steals, and that should do it. 8 seconds to go. Barrett cuts into the Chicago in. A backhand attempt. Right over the shoulder of Murray Bannerman. The penalty has expired as Greg Smith comes on, and they'll freeze it in the Chicago zone.
The Blackhawks power play, Mike, looked pretty good. They got a couple of good point shots, but there was nobody in front of Greg Steffen. He saw them all the way. The best save he made was on Doug Wilson. Here's a look. It looks like Steve Larmer in front of the net, and there's Steffen getting a good look at it. Larmer is in front, but Steffen still got a look at that shot by Doug Wilson. It's one of those things where the point man, if you're going to let the point man get dead center and shoot the puck, you know the guy in front has got to be handled, and the Wings defenseman had backed off recovering other people. So it's up to the forwards. When that defenseman gets dead center to shoot, you can't let him shoot and use the guy in front for a screen.
Steve Yzerman going to Chahaki, and he'll slap one that went wide of the cage. And here is Chicago back on the move again. Tied at 3 here in period number 2. Yaremchuk. He centers for Ben Wilson. Boy, Wilson really going from that blue line on in here in this period, trying to get close to that net. Olczyk. He'll center. Murray gets a piece of it. That's Troy Murray. Bob Murray, of course, also plays with the Hawks. Kept in by Jerome Dupont. Head down, his slap shot blocked in front by Larson. But Detroit can't get it out right now. And it's all Chicago. Yaremchuk. To Olczyk. Back to Yaremchuk. He centers. He went right to the goal now. Troy Murray could not get his stick down. He had his stick up.
Chicago taking all the initiative and keeping the puck in the Red Wings in. Putting an awful lot of pressure on. People are going to have to start picking up people and clear them away from the front of that net.
Yaremchuk one-on-one against Smith. They put it over the crossbar and off the glass. Chahaki with less than a minute and a half to go in the period. Inside the Chicago line, it's Doug Wilson finding Troy Murray. and the save is made by Greg Steffen. That was an example there of those defensemen moving back on the play. Brad?
Well, the Red Wing defenseman had to move back because the 3 forwards got caught by 1 pass. Now, anytime that happens, you've got a 3 or 4. Now, here they're backing in. You're not going to see a Red Wing forward. All 3 guys were caught. They had to back in, play the passes, and let Troy Murray take the shot. Fortunately, he only got a wrist shot off instead of using the slap shot. But Greg Steffen stuck with it all the way and made a good save.
Well, he had a wide-open view of it. No question about that.
Sometimes when you're playing defense, Mike, you got to back in, because if your forwards have made a mistake, you've got to cover for them. You are the last resort. So if they've picked up their wingers, you can concentrate on 1 man. But if they've let people go, you've got to readjust and get yourself backing in. But if you've got people back, there's no reason to give up that blue line.
Murray now with less than a minute to go. Working around the Detroit net. Greg Smith will finally clear. Here's a 3-on-2 race rush now for the Red Wings. Klima going to Gare, and it just hopped off his stick. Centered back out. But Savard will clean up his own end. And give it to Bob Murray. Right side to Doug Wilson. Hawks getting fancy right now. And Duguay rushes back 3-on-3. Wristing the puck. That'll miss the target, and Secord slowly comes to his own blue line. Finds Savard. Presley is bumped, knocked down. Bannerman comes to play the puck with 13 seconds to go in the period. Larmer. Play is wide of the goal. Back behind the net. Time running out. 3 seconds. Savard can't find anybody open. And that's it, the end of period number 2. So we have 2 goals, one by Detroit's Eddie Johnstone, his first of the year, and then Keith Brown coming back to tie it for the Chicago Blackhawks. And we remain right where we were at the end of 1, tied again, Brad.
Both teams are, they're giving it their all out there. They're going end to end. They're making some mistakes. We're seeing some 3-on-2s. And so far, these just haven't been able to finish off any of these plays. And I think that's one reason that they're having trouble.
The shots were 9 apiece in the period. We are tied at 3, and we'll be right back with Jim Kelly and his guest, Danny Gare, of the Detroit Red Wings in just a moment.
They're going to be more aggressive. The Red Wings might be more suitable. It might appeal them to settle for the tie on the road, but the Blackhawks are home in front of their own fans, and they want to break their jinx right now. They want to get the winning ticket on the board. They're going to be going after Detroit. They're going to be throwing everything after them. They've taken their penalties. Ron Wicks, it's a tight game, is probably going to be just let things go unless it's a good scoring temp. We look at the Red Wings coming up on the ice.
You ever walk up out of the dungeon?
I walked up and down those stairs so many times. I think sometimes it was tougher going down them at the end of the game than it was at the beginning of the game.
By the way, these Detroit Red Wings did not play tonight. Gerard Gallant, the rookie, out with a broken jaw. Kelly Kissio with a bruised right calf. Joe Kosir, a sprained thumb. Tim Friday with a bad left shoulder. And Harold Sneps with a bad left knee. We gave you Chicago scratches earlier. There's Chicago's record after 2 when they've been tied. I think we're going to have a dandy here. The final third period of regulation time. We could even get to overtime.
Oh, definitely. Both these teams, it's a desperate situation. They've lost a number of games in a row. It's time to turn the thing around. It's time to get a win off on the board. So they're going to be going after each other, and they're not going to pull any punches.
And here we go. And Ben Wilson fired it away to the Detroit zone. And Craig Smith, number 5, looks for Ron Duguay. Duguay with Danny Gare and Peter Klima as a unit. Against Lysiak, Steve Larmer, and Keith Brown. Ben Wilson going to Steve Larmer. And Smith able to move it to center. Larmer on the right wing to Lysiak. And he can't find anybody open, and Danny Gare will try and carry it out. Checked on the play neatly by Keith Brown. Larmer to Lysiak. Shoots one, and the stop made by Steffen off his left shoulder. He got the glove there, too, and held on. Well, the Red Wings unable to get the puck out.
Okay, look at Steve Larmer moving over to Tom Lysiak. Doesn't waste any time. Tries to catch Greg Steffen with that quick release. Tom Lysiak has added a dimension. He was injured earlier in the year, but since he's come back, he hasn't produced yet. He's starting to get his legs. Right now, he's the oldest player on the ice. And Bob Pulford, the coach, what he's done is he's moved Steve Larmer off of the Savard line in order to, with Lysiak, who is the second best playmaker on the Chicago team, trying to get a little bit more scoring balance out there.
You think they'll be cautious here to start the third anyway, and then maybe open it up?
Well, it will. They'll be cautious until one team gets a goal, and then all of a sudden that just opens the floodgates. What they're going to do is, if you're a defenseman and you're pinching, you've got to be careful of your gambles. You got to be 90% sure that you're going to come up with a puck if you're going to make a gamble.
Red Wings steer it out of danger. Bannerman will have to play the puck, and he'll go back to Jack O'Callahan. Gare giving chase. Number 18 for the Red Wings. Gets it to Rick Zombo. He'll shoot one. That missed the target. Greg Smith winds it up, puts it in behind the goal. Gare centers. Look out, it hit a skate. And cleared by Bannerman at the last second. Now Secor having trouble getting it. Gare, right point to Zombo. He'll play it off the boards, and Bannerman very alertly dives on that puck to the left of the net.
Murray Bannerman not taking any chances. The Hawks were a little disorganized. Detroit was putting some pressure on. So he had that rebound coming off the boards. He says, let's stop this nonsense right now, get a face-off and start over. Pretty high goals against this year for Murray Bannerman. He's not too happy about that, I'm sure.
Well, we've got a 3-3 tie. That's been since 9:25 of period number 2. The Red Wings on the road this year have not fared too well. 2-9-2. The Hawks here at home, 3 wins, 4 losses, and 3 ties. They've played 18 on the road already, the Hawks have. Well, they're 6-11-1. Now Grodnick from the face-off. They might be looking for some home cooking before a large crowd here at Chicago Stadium. Dupont sets it up behind his own net to Ben Wilson. Try to clear, but Detroit again with the forechecking, keeping the puck in. Grodnick snap it back to Larson. Otto Sir left point, shoots one. The pad save by Bannerman. And out come the Hawks. Troy Murray drops it for Olczyk. He tried to put it in behind the defenseman for Yaremchuk. That won't connect. Counterattacking to the Red Wings. Chris Chihaki fell down. Here's Chicago 3-on-2. Wilson left wing. Going to Troy Murray. Cuts in. He shoots it, and a save by Steffen. It went in behind him and then went along the goal line. And play is whistled down. We're tied at 3 here in Chicago.
Watch the move by Troy Murray, busting down the right side and is offside, fakes the left, full step and makes the shot, hits the post. Now watch the puck trickle out the other side behind Greg Steffen. The lucky goal post for most goaltenders is lucky right there.
2 minutes into the third period. Lysiak against Foster on the face-off, and Detroit will carry it out. Looking for Bob Probert, and Probert finds an open space, lays it back into the Chicago zone. Mark Bergevin. Weak pass there to Larmer, but it does come ahead to Lysiak. Offside play against Chicago. Well, Lysiak working out here with Keith Brown, 25-year-old converted defenseman, now in his 7th year in the National Hockey League. And Steve Larmer on the left side. America Cup, of course, coming up. 1987. You know the races are held 5 to 8 nautical miles off the shore.
Well, those are big boats. They got to get them out there.
You have to take a big boat, a cruiser boat, out to watch the races.
The last America Cup, I had the pleasure of being down in Newport, Rhode Island, where they'd had it for years and years. And you talk about one big event and what an atmosphere it is down there. And the Americans are anxious to get this back, and they're going to Australia to try and get it in '87.
Detroit's Mike McEwen looking for Ed Johnstone. That's played away to Foster. Now to McEwen. Back to Dwight Foster. He is hit heavily along the boards by Mark Bergevin. And the puck underneath him. Bergevin, a 185-pound defenseman.
We're getting a lot of different tempos in the game. Just before Troy Murray's chance a little while ago, we had 3-on-2s going both ways about 3 or 4 times. I mean, that's not the cautious hockey in a 3-3 game in the third period that you want to play. And now the tempo's changed again. They're playing a little bit tighter. It just seems that whoever comes on the ice, the way they play the game determines the tempo of the game.
You have that feeling one of the clubs is waiting for the mistake to go against them, say, oh no, here we go again.
That becomes a familiar phrase sometimes when you lose in hockey games.
Savard, and they both have had their share of losses this year. LaSalle. Number 21, Elaine Lambert. He directs it up into the Chicago zone. And a hurt player back at center, LaSalle. And he is in some pain. Well, we watched the play go into the Chicago end. I didn't see LaSalle get hit on the boards, Brad.
Clyde Lozelle tried to make a little move around Wayne Presley. Wayne Presley stuck his leg out, and Lozelle went into the boards, and as he went into the boards, Al Secord toppled over top of him. He was out of control when it happened, and it looks like he either sprained his ankle or his knee. We couldn't see exactly because the boards were in our way. Here's the picture of Lozelle. Now watch Presley stick out the leg. Now Lozelle starts to go in the boards. All right, he's in the boards, and Secord topples over top of him. Now it could have been the collision with the boards or the fact that Secord kind of fell over him.
All right, as LaSalle will try and get himself up. We have a 3-3 tie. The score, Chicago 3 and Detroit 3. There's a look at Claude LaSalle, who will be helped off the ice, favoring a leg.
I think it's his left knee, Mike, and they're going to take him down in the dressing room. Seems to be a little bit too bad for him to continue. Another centerman for the Red Wings goes down. Kelly Kissio is scheduled to play soon, but he bruised a calf the other day, and he hasn't played the last couple of games. And that's forced the Red Wings to move Ron Duguay to center. But now they lose another centerman, which means we're probably going to see a lot more of Dwight Foster.
LaSalle going down those stairs. That's a long way. He's a carpenter in the offseason, works with his daddy. He's a carpenter.
He was Detroit's first-round pick a few years ago before that Jimmy Devellano became the general manager, and coming out of Ottawa played in Windsor.
Here's Savard trying to get in. Steffen comes down, pokes it away. Open net shot by Presley, and he missed the net. Now Steffen gambled. He got away with it. Wilson shooting one. Savard got the high stick to it. And the face-off will be brought outside the Detroit line. Well, Steffen gambled, and he got away with one there.
Rick Zombo came up with a big skate save on the shot. It was going in the empty net. Steffen was out. The whole net was there, and Rick Zombo deflected the puck wide. One of those things, a goaltender, you're going out, it's either do or die. Once you commit yourself, Steffen did. He went out there and committed himself to poke it away. Now watch Zombo at the bottom of your screen. Here's the shot. Hits him on the skate. Knows this game, it's a game of inches sometimes.
You've got eyes, Mr. Park. I didn't realize it hit his skate. I knew it went wide. So did the other 17,000 probably in the building tonight. And here is Larson. Blasting that puck around the boards. Comes right to Keith Brown. Tried to headman it to Lysiak. Picked off by Gare of Detroit. Duguay takes his pass. And Jerome Dupont will look for an open man. Just plays it to center. We have played almost 4 minutes here in period number 3, and a 2-line pass called against Detroit. Now, big game coming up. The Boston Bruins will be at Buffalo next Sunday. That'll be a 7 p.m. Eastern time start, 4 p.m. Pacific, subject to blackout, of course. Sam Rosen, Brad Park, and Jim Kelly will all be there. Be at center ice with Buffalo and Boston meet in an Adams Conference battle Sunday, December 22nd.
That's quite a rivalry, Mike. The Bruins and Buffalo have been going at each other for a number of years. The Bruins are going through some tough times now with injuries to Ken Lensman, Charlie Simmer. They're two big guns early in the season. The Sabres are still waiting for their young, quality players to get on track and take control of the game. And right now, Joe Perreault is the best player that they have.
Sabres won tonight over Quebec 6-2. And here are the Red Wings. Cutting up ice. Peter Klima down the slot around Lysiak. He's got a chance, and he pushed it wide. And Klima avoided that check by Lysiak very easily, and here's Lysiak now. Whipping the puck back into Detroit territory. Klima rolls it around, but not out. Kept in by Lysiak. Left point to Doug Wilson. Right behind the goal. Lysiak centers. It comes to Wilson. Band on the shot. Hit the heel of his stick. Steve Larmer couldn't get it to the open man. It was Lysiak. He was trying to get to the corner to get to the puck. And Larson drags it across his own blue line. Big collision at center ice. Lysiak and Larmer both went down as Reed Larson hit them. Now Ladouceur. Detroit defenseman. He shoots it in and chases to the bench. Bannerman systematically. Gets it to Larmer, but he gave it away to Yzerman, who in return coughed it up to O'Callahan. This will be icing called against Chicago. Let's go to Jim Kelly.
Well, Mike, Winnipeg and Toronto into overtime now, 3-3. Scott Arnell got his 10th goal for the Jets to send that game into overtime. Meanwhile, the Oilers solidly entrenched in first place, 2 goals by Huddy, and a 5-3 win against the Canucks. Buffalo blasted Quebec 6-2. Lindsey Ruff had 4 goals in that game. The Penguins on top over the Rangers, putting pressure on New York for the 4th spot in the division, and St. Louis on top over New Jersey 3-2. That's the final.
St. Louis won that game tonight, Brad, with a second to go in New Jersey.
That's right. Those kind of goals will kill you.
Rob Ramage scoring.
They'll make general managers awful great.
Crowd now trying to get behind the Chicago Blackhawks here, and a loud one it is. Voted by almost every player in the league as the loudest building. Here's Troy Murray. Can't make a play. Chahaki had knocked down Olczyk. Ogrodnik fires. Bannerman with that save. And Olczyk now cruising back for Chicago. Behind the net, Troy Murray trying to center. And it'll be Detroit picking it off. Yzerman. Ogrodnik at the blue line. He was offside. Yzerman held up. Now circles and waits to go in again. He's bumped. Got it to Ogrodnik, though. Back to Yzerman. Yzerman skating well tonight.
Playing very, very well. That goal last night that he got, the one tonight, has picked up his confidence. Now he's holding on to the puck, and he's doing things that the first 2 years that he was in the league really made him a standout.
Got an icing call here against Chicago. Shots are dead even now at 23 apiece. There's a look at Harry Neal, one of the more likable coaches in the National Hockey League. Always has a story, and one of the funnier guys.
Harry Neal was going through some tough times in Vancouver and moved on to the Red Wings. Bob Pulford now, he's a little bit concerned. 3-3 game. Both coaches got to be concerned. Their teams with the goals against, they know anything can happen at any time. They'd love to see their team win by 1 goal tonight, 4-3. The other team only gets 3, and that's the starting point.
Foster won the faceoff. Rick Zambo put one off the leg of Jeff Larmer. His brother Steve, of course, plays here with Chicago, too. And the puck is worked back in behind the Chicago net. Bob Murray of the Hawks. And Rick Zambo will have to flag it down. He'll play it up the left wing. Yzerman into Chicago territory, wristing one, of course, with the injury to LaSalle. Now Yzerman double shifting.
I think Harry Neal likes the way he's playing tonight. He looks like a different Steve Yzerman, and when Steve Yzerman can get hot, he can do a lot of things out there.
We are tied at 3 here in period number 3 with 13:08 to go in regulation time. Yzerman puts it back into the Chicago, into the rink. O'Callahan going to Doug Wilson. And up to center iceman Tom Lysia. He's checked on the play. O'Callahan will try again. Larson around the boards, but not out. O'Callahan shooting the puck, and the stop is made by Steffen. On the rebound, it's to center point. O'Callahan worked it into the corner. Reed Larson handles the disc for the Red Wings, plays it up high. It's a live puck. Bannerman went after it. Klima got it behind the goal, but he couldn't make a play out in front. Now Bannerman dives on a loose puck to the right of the net. The score here in Chicago: the Blackhawks 3, the Red Wings 3. Winnipeg and Toronto tonight skated to a 3-3 tie, the same score we have, and LaSalle, center iceman for the Red Wings, his left knee. It's an old injury that he's had some problems with before, and the doctors are examining LaSalle right now. Here's Klima trying to pull it around. Checking Savard, can't do it. And it's the Detroit blue line, Randy Ladouceur. O'Callahan with the skate stop, looks right wing. Look for the game to open up now a little bit. As the Hawks, as we said, here at home.
And when they get hot, Mike, they can score in bunches. So if they get the next goal, the Red Wings are going to have to be doubly careful.
Secord off the stick of Larson. Here's a 2-on-1. Presley left side. Presley cutting in. His shot save. Rebound. Score! Dennis Savard gives the Hawks the lead. 2
to the puck. The shot by Wayne Presley go off the left pad of Greg Steffen, and it bounces right to Dennis Savard. He wastes no time. There's no way Steffen can get back to cover it. Steffen makes the save. The defenseman went down. It comes to Savard, and he was all alone.
Dennis Savard with his 18th goal of the year, second of the night.
The Red Wings got a bad bounce at the blue line here, Mike. The puck came out to Reed Larson, and it was bouncing. It took a crazy hop on over his stick, which enabled the Blackhawks to get that 2-on-1.
And here they go in Chicago. The crowd is alive. 8:14 the time of the Savard goal. Chicago with the lead once again. Bob Murray. Twisting one, and Steffen with a pad save, and he'll cover up that rebound and hold it right there. I think he realizes don't let the game get too far out of hand right now. Quiet the crowd down.
That's right. The one thing that Greg Steffen doesn't want to do, he doesn't want to give up another goal here in the third period. The Blackhawks have got the momentum now with that score. They're going to try to add to it. If Steffen can keep him off the board, it's going to be a lot easier for the Red Wings to come back. It's easier to get one goal than try to get two.
Assisted by Presley and Secord, 8-14.
Yzerman right back on here for the Detroit Red Wings, but it comes to Bob Murray. Put in the slot for Brown. It's off his stick and up into the crowd here at the stadium. Yzerman working with Warren Young and Lane Lambert. Again, Savard from Presley and Secord at 8:14 of period number 3. And the Hawks now with 27 shots. The Red Wings with 24.
I'm sure both coaches, Mike, are going deep into their files. Harry Neal's going to have to come up with some offensive combinations coming down the stretch in the last 10 minutes. And Bob Pulford, he's going to be thinking about who he wants, who's going good tonight for him. That is going to keep the Red Wings off the scoreboard.
Isiak right from the face-off, and a good save by Steffen there. He was very alert on the face-off. Handled it well. Yzerman cruising back. Bergevin the beat, and he flips that one wide of the goal. John Barrett put it in behind the Chicago net, and Bob Murray has nobody to check him. It comes to Senator Lysiak. He fell down, lost his balance. And McEwen relays it up to Warren Young. Brown goes back. Lambert with a good play to take the defenseman out of the action, but nobody follows on. And Lysiak again fires it the other way. We'll get an icing call apparently against Chicago. And they'll bring it back into the Blackhawks into the ring. Well, it was 2-2 at the end of 1, 3-3 at the end of 2, and now the Hawks have gone ahead.
Tom Lysiak going off the ice. He made a smart move. He iced the puck right there because he was tired. They'd been out for a long time. And when you're out there and you're tired, you know you're going to make mental mistakes. You know you got to control the puck. You don't have anything to do with it. A good play to break it out of your end, and you got to get a whistle. So very wisely, he just dumped it down the ice. That's an old vet for you, all that experience. The one thing about a vet, you know when you get tired.
Bill Gardner losing the draw to Foster, and it is knocked aside back to center. Gardner comes up with it. He's trying to work his magic in the Detroit zone, looking for Jeff Larmer. Larmer plays the man Rick Zombo into the glass. And they're banging away pretty good right now. Greg Smith, left wing. Bob Probert going to Dwight Foster. Got Smith there. Slap shot. Blocked by Patterson. Now Ben Wilson knocked down by Probert. And they freeze the play on the far side of the Chicago zone. And we had some tempers heat up 12 seconds into the game, but it's been a good hard-hitting game by both clubs and really hasn't gotten out of hand at all.
Right now, you know, this stage of the game, you know, the 2 points become much more predominant in importance than, you know, getting even with somebody.
I think we all kind of thought it would be a little more physical from that standpoint prior to it, with both teams on losing streaks. And it looked that way when we started the first period, but they've settled down. They've played a pretty good hockey game.
We're still seeing a lot of good hitting out there. Guys finishing their checks, taking people and putting them up against the board to keep them out of the play. And these are the little things that can make a difference in a team winning and losing.
And this time the play will be brought back into Detroit territory. Well, Buffalo got on the winning track again, beating Quebec 6-2 tonight.
A look at the big Ben Wilson. Started his career in Philadelphia. Probably one of the toughest guys that has played this game. He's one guy that nobody likes to mess with. People even think he might be a little crazy out there sometimes, but every once in a while, Ben will show you some flashes of offense that you don't think he has. I've seen him take the puck and deke a couple of people and go the distance, go to the hoop with it.
Chicago leading 4-3. 9:52 to go in regulation time. And Ben Wilson working up the sideboards. Reed Larson goes back to pick up the mail. Plays it back into the Chicago end. DuPont winded around the board for Yaremchuk. He couldn't get it out. Wilson will try again. And off the near side, it played up to the neutral zone. Reed Larson gave it right back to Ben Wilson. And DuPont takes the pass from him. Steffen has to turn it over to the near corner. Chris Chahaki off the stick of Yzerman back at center ice. Out here now with Ogrodnik and Chahaki. Doug Wilson, a bouncing puck. And a heavy check in behind the goal on Yaremchuk. Yzerman got that puck from O'Callahan. Secor trying to overtake Yzerman. Yzerman got a right point. Larson cranked one up. It was blocked. He keeps it in. Moving towards the net. And it's blocked in front by Doug Wilson of Chicago. Yzerman in the near corner. Centers for Gare. And Savard overtakes him. Savard looking for the hat trick. The HT. Skating like the wind. And finally overtaken by Reed Larson.
Both teams dumping the puck out now, and whenever they're in doubt, the Blackhawks are going to see a lot of collisions along the boards just inside the Blackhawk blue line. The Red Wing defensemen are going to start pinching more, and the prime thing that the wingers for the Blackhawks have to do is make sure the puck gets out. Don't turn it over just inside your blue line.
Secor looking right side of Presley. A slap shot, and Steffen cut the angle down and made that save. Here in Chicago, the score. The Blackhawks 4 and the Red Wings 3. You see the time left in the third period, regulation time. Chicago with a go-ahead goal by Dennis Savard with a 4-3 lead here in the third period. And Chicago controls. Steffen could not stop it. The Detroit goaltender tonight. Lysiak takes over near corner. He centers. Pass right to Peter Klima. And the Red Wings rookie tried to make a move on Bob Murray. Gets it to Gare, and he shot it off the side of the net. And Bannerman reaches out and makes the stop there. Well, we got some big doings in February. Well, temper seat up here is Ron Duguay involved in behind the Chicago goal. As I was about to say, we've got some big doings coming up in February. Let's join Jim Kelly right now.
All right, Michael, ESPN drops the puck for a great night of NHL live hockey action when the best on the ice meet for the 34th NHL All-Star Game live from the Hartford Civic Center. For the first time, of course, the fans will be selecting the starting team, and those Chrysler Dodge ballots were going fast here at the Chicago Stadium, almost faster than the hot pretzels. ESPN, your ticket for live NHL hockey action when the Icemen cometh for the 34th All-Star Game, February the 4th, here on ESPN. Mike?
Didn't know Jim Kelly liked those hot pretzels.
So stay away from the hot pretzels. They got good ones here in Chicago. Good hot dogs, too.
You should know. Many years you spent in the National Hockey League, all the rest.
I was always down in the dressing room on the bench. I never got people used to tell me.
McEwen sends one right up to the Oregon player.
The Red Wings have been attacking. Watch Peter Klima go down here. Watch the move through his legs. He catches it on the other side. Instead of going around the defenseman, he cuts back. Now look at the difference he's put between himself and Bob Murray to give himself time to find somebody in the open. Pretty classy play by the young guy.
I saw him earlier in the year make that play, but put behind him and then around behind the defenseman again and walked around him and scored on a goal. In Detroit, he does have some great talent. Peter Klima, one of the upcoming stars in the National Hockey League. Dwight Foster behind Barrett, the pass, and he'll be able to get to it, work it off the boards, and Jeff Larmer took a piece of Barrett, and right down to the Chicago blue line. Bob Murray gives it to Mark Bergevin. Long lead pass, nobody there. Barrett, less than 7 minutes to go in the third period. Larmer stops the Detroit attack again. And the Red Wings steer it into the near side of the Chicago zone. Bergevin around the horn. Barrett kept it in. Good play. Bob Probert over to Barrett. Barrett tried to shoot it. It hit a leg and cleared up into the crowd again here at the stadium. The score, Chicago 4 and Detroit 3. Well, Detroit with Steve Yzerman seeing double duty right now. Out with Chris Chahaki and John Ogrodnik.
Mike, we're going to see a lot of Troy Murray out there every time Steve Yzerman is on the ice. Pulford thinks that Troy Murray is almost like a clone, maybe not as good, but a clone type player like a Brian Trottier. He's good offensive, good checker, he's strong on his skates. Yzerman's not a big guy, but the Hawks feel that Troy Murray can overpower him and stay with him.
Ogrodnik from the draw. Wristing one that missed. Bannerman's down in behind the goal. And bodies fall on top of him. Now have to break up the traffic jam.
Goaltenders get out, they get behind that net. You wouldn't believe some of the difficulties they have getting back into that net. But Murray Bannerman knew very well that he had trouble handling the puck. The only thing he could do was to freeze the puck, fall on it, and get a whistle. It could have been called a penalty because if a goaltender goes out behind the net, behind the goal line, and freezes the puck, the referee can call delay of game.
Wears 40 to 45 pounds of equipment as a goaltender, and it's tough to move. And their skates are different, too. Here's Jerome Dupont going behind the Chicago net, right side to Yaremchuk. He'll play it off the sideboards and back to the center ice area. A steal by Yaremchuk. He had a man offside as he tried to enter the Detroit end. You're thinking now Detroit 6:02 to go. They're down by just a goal, and I know you mentioned it earlier. When will they start maybe gambling a little bit? It might be. It is too early, I think, in the game. They played pretty steady, and I hope they get the tying goal and work it down late if they can.
The rule of thumb is when you're down a goal, you wait to the 5-minute mark before you pull out all stops. You start making gambles where you make a 90-10% gamble. You might go on 60-40, and then you get down inside the 2 minutes. You're going on 40-60.
Another frozen puck.
The Red Wings defensemen, they've got to make some very, very clear-cut decisions in the Chicago end. As the game winds down, and if they don't pinch, they've got to be careful about pulling out. If they pull out too soon, they lose a good chance to hem the Chicago club in. And the last time, Yaremchuk just wheeled the puck off the boards, but the Detroit defense was already peeling out, and they end up getting control outside the blue line instead of inside the blue line.
Steve Yzerman, Ron Duguay, and Eddie Johnstone scoring tonight for Detroit. Dennis Savard with 2. Jerome Dupont and Keith Brown, the other goal getters for the Chicago Blackhawks. Well, the organ players picked up the tempo, too. She is cranking out some sounds here. The big pipe organ. Here is Yaremchuk. Into the left wing corner, looking for Ed Olczyk. But Ogrodnik beats him to it. Chahaki took a stiff check from Troy Murray. Ogrodnik leads the rush back, though, to Yzerman. Yzerman controlling the play. Stick handling well to Reed Larson. He's in deep now, cutting for the net. Stopped by Bannerman, rebound. Yzerman! Big scramble around the net. Ogrodnik scores! And Detroit ties the game. Oh, hallelujah, Hollywood. The Red Wings would not be denied.
There's 4 Blackhawks laying down in the crease, and John Ogrodnik dug the puck out from a pile-up and just flipped it into the net. Watch Reed Larson go to the net here. Banner makes a good poke check. The puck comes back. You can't see Yzerman shoot it, but watch Ogrodnik. He digs it out and chips it over the stick and inside the post. to give Detroit Red Wings a 4-4 tie. There's the shot by Yzerman. Now watch Ogrodnik to the right of your screen. Reach in, dig the puck out, because it's not buried yet, and Ron Wicks was right there to watch it, and it just goes off the post and into the net. I give a lot of credit to Steve Yzerman when he took that puck over the blue line, spun back, he held onto it, bounced off a couple of checks, then fed it into Reed Larson.
So Detroit has bounced back to tie the game at 4. And we have 5:08 to go in regulation time. Well, Larson was in deep on that play. Talking about help make it happen, too.
Yep, but you can't, you're going to see Larson had to start pinching. If the opportunity was there, you can't hang back when you're down.
So the Red Wings and Hawks are tied at 4. And O'Callahan gives it to Dennis Savard. And he'll start the motor going. Right wing to Presley. Tried to find Secord cutting in. Rick Zombo stopped that play. Steffen will leave the puck for defenseman Greg Smith. Played it outside the line. Wilson carried it in. We have an offside call. That one definitely came outside the line, and Wilson stopped it with his glove.
Mike, that's what I was talking about earlier. Doug Wilson just did the same thing that the Red Wings defenseman did. When you're not playing with confidence, you get the thing starts to happen. You start to back out a little bit too soon, and he backed out. The puck came right to where he was, but once he stepped outside of that line, there was no way he could stop and get back in quick enough.
Number 28, Ray Larson, at 14:41. Detroit goal scored by Ogrodnik, assisted by Yzerman.
Ogrodnik's goal is 15th of the year from Larson and Yzerman at 14:41. And Bob Murray has to go back and get the puck for Chicago to Mark Bergevin. He has some room. Rushing up into the Detroit zone. Tried to cut in, went in behind the net. Centers, look out. Lysiak backhander. The save is made. And the rebound is cleared over the glass. Well, there's a case where Chicago sent the defenseman in. Mark Bergevin rushing on the play. And it almost resulted in the go-ahead goal for the Chicago Blackhawks.
It also shows the value of that man on the screen. Watch Steffen just stay on his feet and stay with his backhand shot of Lysiak, and also stay with the rebound. Greg Steffen has matured into one of the better goaltenders in the National League. Watch him. He moves out, and he stays on his feet. He knows he's got the angle. He ends up picking off the rebound, too. That's the basics. The basics I was talking about Greg Steffen, that if he is on off night, because he's got those good basics, he's not going to be bobbling pucks and kicking them into his own net.
Lysiak got the face-off, got his own pass back on the boards. A shot hit Barrett. But Barrett recovers to take the puck across his own line. Lambert unable to get to it. And Lysiak stepped into Lambert and put him against the corner board. Here's Steve Larmer. Left wing to Lysiak. Well, who he was passing that one to went right through the slot. Now Lambert will try and get it out. He can't. Bergevin keeps it in. But Warren Young of Detroit looks for Foster. Center ice pass, not there. Bergevin, he is crunched by Barrett. Stopping the play right there. Troy Murray comes up. He'll shoot it off the glass. McEwen got it out of danger with 3:10 to go in regulation time. We are tied at 4 here in Chicago. The Red Wings and the Blackhawks.
We're going to see a lot of the old saying they have in the National Hockey League. When in doubt, get it out. People are just going to dump it out instead of coughing it up in their own end zone.
Ladouceur did just that. And Dupont goes cross-rink to Ben Wilson. Now to Yaremchuk. Olchek tried to steal from McEwen. Ogrodnik's timing on the play by Yaremchuk, but Yzerman will be able to feed it on the back end. Dupont to Ed Olchek. Right wing. Here's Yaremchuk firing, and Steffen made an acrobatic save there off his stick. Olchek going to Troy Murray. He centers loose in front. It'll come free now. Doug Wilson shooting, scoring! Doug Wilson.
Doug Wilson picks up an errant pass here. I don't know how this missed Randy Ladouceur and Yaremchuk, but Jake Steffen cannot see it, and it goes right by his stick side. Here comes the puck. He gets knocked out, that Doug Wilson, can pull the trigger with tremendous velocity and blows it by Stefan, who never got a good look at it. And the Blackhawks have taken a 5-4 lead.
The goal by Doug Wilson, only his 4th of the year. One year he had 39 in the National Hockey League. But boy, he made no mistake. He really blasted that one, Brad. Here's Savard back. He's got a chance. He shoots and scores!
The Blackhawks can score them in bunches, and Dennis Savard picks up his 3rd goal of the night as he comes across the Red Wing blue line. It's a 2-on-1. The defenseman's got to back off him. He holds it, and he beats Stefan to the glove side, just inside the post. The puck was labeled.
It's the hat trick for Dennis Savard here in Chicago tonight, and the hats come on the ice at Chicago Stadium.
Now watch Savard, he holds it. Now watch, go by the glove side of Stefan, and it's a 2-goal lead for Chicago.
Well, they scored 12 seconds apart. Here in Chicago, the Hawks now lead 6-4. Well, they've had to clean up the ice from the hats that were throwing on. And it's Dennis Savard with the hat trick. Goal number 19 on the year for Dennis Savard.
Mike, Chicago bounced right back. They got the first goal from Doug Wilson at 17:35. Only 12 seconds later, Savard comes back, gets his 3rd of the game. Looks like Chicago Blackhawks may have been doing some things tonight that could get them on the roll. The one thing when they were successful the last few years is they've been able to get a goal, come back, and put in 1 or 2 more.
Well, now the clock will work against the Red Wing. They're down by 2. They had battled back to tie it at 4. Bannerman feeds it around. And the roar here of this crowd just sends chills through your body when Chicago scores. I'll tell you, it must be the loneliest feeling in the world. Here's an icing call for an opposing player to be on, especially late in this type of situation in a game. And now those goals scored against you, it just runs right through you.
Oh, it does. And they've got a big horn that goes off, too. And now they announce it. Savard's 3rd goal. And he's getting a standing ovation here. One thing that the Blackhawks have wanted and waiting for is for their big guys to break out. For Dennis Savard to break out. That he's done tonight. Steve Yzerman has done that for the Red Wings tonight. He's been a kind of a dominant player in the game. So the 2 big guns have come up, but Chicago's on top right now, 6-4.
Fans around the country, if you ever get an opportunity to come to Chicago and you're staying over a night, come down and see the Hawks play if they're in town and be in this building. It has got a great tradition, and it will put some chills into you. It's 6-4, Chicago. Duguay falls down with a faceoff. And now somebody will get the way.
Paul Pulford not taking any chances right now. He's putting out Troy Murray and Savard to have 2 centermen out for faceoffs in the Chicago end.
1:53 to go. And Troy Murray wheeled it back to center. Now, if you're Harry Neal, do you think about pulling Greg Stefan down by a pair?
Down 2 goals, down 3 goals. It depends. Maybe your club's going through a bad time now. Maybe a 7-4 game is going to hurt them more than a 6-4. But that's a decision that Harry's going to have to make.
Offside call against the Chicago Blackhawks. Well, certainly you'd have to have the face-off in Chicago territory down by 2. And we're down now to 1:32 to go, and there's the man who'll make that decision, Harry Neal. To his immediate right, Colin Campbell, assistant coach.
I know it's Christmas, but you're not going to get too many gifts in the Chicago Stadium. This is the time right now they've got, Detroit's got Yzerman's line out there with O'Grodin and Chahaki. And they've really got to go and try and get a goal in the next 30, 40 seconds. And then, if they can do that, now you're pulling the goalie and you're going for everything.
Well, the Hawks with Steve Larmer and Ed Olczyk on either side of Troy Murray. And Detroit winning the draw. Ray Smith sends it in. On the near side, taken by Doug Wilson. Put up high in the air and now cleared to Ed Olczyk. They got around Zombo. he stood up neatly by Greg Smith. That's all the further he could go. Shahaki with 1:07 to go in the third period. Steve Larmer breaks up the rush. And Detroit now is down to just 1 minute to go to try and get back in the game. Doug Wilson. Troy Murray centers. Shahaki takes it out of his own territory, right wing to Ogrodnik. He'll stop. Give it away to Steve Larmer. Ogrodnik, who had the big tying goal.
Steffen is starting to go to the bench. He's debating right now. Harry Neal just gave him the hand signal to stay there, so I don't think we're going to pull Steffen.
Gare on the right side. Gare slipping in between the circles, and now Larmer clears. Right back to center to Reed Larson. He drills it in. We're down to 24 to go in the third period. Bob Murray plays it over the head of the referee, Ron Wicks, and up into the Chicago bench. Well, 20 seconds left. The face-off will be back in Chicago territory. And you've got Steffen coming to this Detroit bench area.
I'd have to disagree right now with the move that Harry Neal's doing. He's pulling his goaltender off. The chances of getting 2 goals in 20 seconds are, phenomenal. I mean, it just doesn't happen. And if Chicago goes and gets another goal, it's a 7-4 hockey game. There's a 3-goal difference. Even though it wasn't a 3-goal difference type of hockey game, it could be that in the scoreboard in the box score tomorrow morning.
Now Chicago apparently will snap a 5-game losing streak here tonight. Dennis Savard will get the call here against Ron Duguay. And the 6 attackers on for Detroit. Young, Klima, Gare, McEwen, Larson, and Duguay. They'll use Larson apparently as the trigger man. Trying to pull it back to him to let him shoot it and then rush the net. 6-4 Hawks. And it's negated as the Hawks control the draw. Brown around the near side with an empty net. Comes to Secord. He might have a chance here. Going to Savard, going for 4 goals, and his shot was deflected off a stick. 9 seconds to go. Young brings it to center red. We're down to 3. Bannerman will touch it. 1 second. That's it. It's all over here in Chicago. Well, the Chicago Blackhawks have defeated the Detroit Red Wings 6-4. A big third period for Chicago, Brad.
Definitely. The Red Wings made a great job of coming back, tying it on their Ogrodnik goal. But the blast by Doug Wilson just turned the momentum of the game. Here comes the puck out. Steffen knocks it. Now it gets knocked again out to Wilson. Landy Ladouceur's in front of Steffen. Wilson winds up. The big slap shot by the right arm of Greg Steffen made a 5-4 goal. Now here's the pass from Bob Murray ahead to Savard. It's a 2-on-1. Savard picks it up. He knows he has time because he's way over. The defenseman's got to stay there. A perfect shot under the glove of Greg Steffen just inside the post.
All right, here in Chicago, the final score, Chicago 6 and Detroit 4. We'll be right back to Chicago after this message.